Revealed, the incredible journey of a black janitor who gave everything to save a billionaire's life. In Silicon Valley, where glimmering skyscrapers touch the clouds and ambition fuels the air, Franklin Davis, a janitor in his late 40s, found dignity in his daily toil. His days unfolded surrounded by the hum of innovation, but he remained firmly grounded, reminded of the stark divide between his life and the soaring fortunes of the elite tech world. Each swipe of his mop echoed a humble mantra: hard work, love, and resilience, lessons he instilled in his teenage daughter, Maya. Their cramped apartment, alive with the savory scent of makeshift meals, echoed with whispered dreams and shared laughter on late nights. Yet, pride mingled with pain. Franklin watched from his cleaning cart as glossy suits hurried past, their eyes rarely landing on him. He reminisced about those intimate moments with Maya, discussing their ambitions while the walls of their home bore witness to their struggles. It was a world different from the one glittering outside, yet it was theirs. Everything changed one ordinary afternoon, though, when fate would challenge that fragile reality. As news of chaos erupted from the tech firm where Franklin cleaned, the building buzzed with urgency. A gasp ripped through the crowd. Franklin turned just in time to see Robert Wainwright, the billionaire CEO, topple from the glass balcony. Time slowed as Franklin's instincts kicked into high gear. He sprinted through the panic, his heart pounding against his chest. Racing forward, he lunged forward, propelling himself to grab Wainwright just before gravity claimed him entirely. Franklin's world flipped upside down. The sight of flashing cameras and captivated reporters felt surreal as they labeled him a hero. This was the spotlight, the attention he both yearned for and feared. But along with the glory came scrutiny and whispers. Peering through the veil of cheer, it soon became clear that society still clung tightly to its prejudices. The same onlookers who cheered his name echoed doubts, questioning a janitor's integrity and worth among the elite. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Amid the shifting tides, the weight of newfound notoriety began to strain Franklin's relationship with Maya. The world outside their apartment felt alien as the media transformed them into symbols of resilience or caricatures of class struggles. They navigated uncharted waters, their late-night conversations now infused with anxiety. Would they remain true to their roots? As whispers turned into a roaring storm, the courtroom became their gladiatorial arena. Class and race were on trial, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Franklin's integrity faced relentless scrutiny, revealing cracks in the community's support and uncovering painful betrayals. In this moment of despair, Hudson resolved to stand steadfast against the tide. As conflict brewed, his heart soared with hope, a desperate wish that he could reshape their fate, turning the pages of their shared story from shadows to light. The gavel fell, but in that hush of uncertainty, Franklin's fight for his family and their dignity had only just begun. The courtroom buzzed with tension, every eye fixed on Franklin. He could feel the weight of judgment in the air, heavy and suffocating. The judge's gavel echoed like a tolling bell, a stark reminder that this wasn't just a battle of wills, it was a fight for his family's future. Maya sat in the audience, her heart racing. She clutched her notebook tightly, filled with scribbled notes and prayers. "Dad, you can do this," she whispered under her breath, though doubt crept into her mind. The media frenzy had changed everything. Her father's name was printed in headlines that alternated between praise and suspicion. She bit her lip, trying to hold back tears, wishing for the days when life felt simple and filled with laughter. The prosecution rose, a slick lawyer with an overabundance of confidence. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," he began, his voice smooth like honey laced with venom. "You've heard the hero story, an everyday janitor saving a billionaire and becoming a household name. But tonight, you'll discover the truth. Is a man sweeping floors really capable of heroic actions? His words sliced through the air, painting Franklin as a mere charade standing amidst glittering wealth. Each syllable layered on doubt like heavy stones. Franklin stayed poised. He inhaled deeply, recalling the smell of Maya's favorite home-cooked meals, reminding him why he fought. The love he felt for her fueled his resolve. This wasn't just about one moment of heroism, it was the culmination of every sacrifice he had ever made. He thought of their late-night talks, the dreams they crafted together, and the world he wanted to build for Maya. As the days turned into a whirlwind of testimonies and evidence, Franklin sought to connect with the jury, to show them the man behind the mop. He spoke from his heart, sharing tales of his upbringing, the lessons learned through struggle, and the immeasurable love for his daughter. He recounted how those struggles had shaped him into the man he had become, the protective father, the dedicated worker. Each time he opened his mouth, Maya could see a flicker of hope in the jurors' eyes. Was it the sincerity of his words, the raw emotion of a man who's weathered the storms of life? Or was it the stark contrast he represented against the millionaire who had once overlooked him, now effectively relying on his salvation? The media had turned him into a spectacle, but in the courtroom, a different truth emerged. Slowly, the small community turned to support him, murmurs of "He's one of us" beginning to surface. The world outside might view him with suspicion, but here he was an embodiment of resilience. Days turned to an agonizing wait as everyone held their breaths for the jury's decision. Franklin and Maya exchanged glances filled with nerves and unspoken fears. Were they ready for whatever came next, triumph or defeat? In the silence that followed the closing arguments, Franklin felt a warmth envelop him. He was surrounded by people who didn't see him as just a janitor but as a father, a man, and a symbol of resilience. Just then, a juror shifted in her seat, a realization seeming to wash over her face. As she hesitated, the room felt electric with tension, awaiting the revelation that could change everything for Franklin and Maya. The whispering in the courtroom stopped as the juror's hand hesitated in the air. The flicker of hope in Franklin's chest ignited a flame. He could feel every pair of eyes in the room narrowing in on her, sensing the weight of the decision that hung in the balance. What could she possibly say that would tip the scales? Maya squeezed her notebook, her knuckles white from the tension. "Come on, please," she whispered again, the urgency of the moment clawing at her throat. The juror let out a breath, perhaps a sigh of relief or apprehension. Then, she straightened in her chair, her voice rising confidently above the murmur that threatened to overtake the room. "I believe we need to consider not just the actions that led to that day, but the man Franklin is, a man who did not think twice about putting himself in danger." The juror's gaze traveled the room, taking in the jury's faces, and she paused as if weighing her words. "He showed us that courage comes in many forms, including the simple act of caring for others. That is what true heroism looks like." Franklin's heart thundered in his chest. His mind flashed back to that day, all the chaos, the rushing sirens, the screams. But amid the frenzy, he had acted without a second thought. He had been a father first, a protector. "I am ready to vote," the juror declared, her voice unwavering. It was crystal clear she had moved past uncertainty. The skateboard-sized weight of doubt felt significantly lighter for Franklin. The other jurors began murmuring amongst themselves, nodding, leaning in, as if her words had cracked the wall of skepticism that had surrounded them. Maya's breath caught. Was it possible this jury could see him as more than just a janitor? As more than a spectacle the world had transformed him into? If they could tap into the truth underneath his title, then maybe, just maybe, he could reclaim his dignity. The deliberation continued, but Franklin found himself momentarily lost in thought, anchored by Maya's presence. Her supportive nod reassured him. She might not know everything about the courtroom world, but she knew the heart of her father. She believed in him, and that belief shimmered in the air like a shared secret between them. As the jury began to take votes, each hand raised felt like a silent prayer sent heavenward. Franklin had fought poorly with words at times, but his heart had spoken a language untold to many. His story and Maya's were one of love, sacrifice, and resilience. That was stronger than any accusation thrown his way. Minutes ticked by like hours. Suddenly, a rod of gleaming sunlight pierced the heavy atmosphere as the foreperson stood. The courtroom hushed instantly. We have reached a verdict. Franklin's palms felt clammy, but there was a resolute determination in his spine. This was it. His future, their future, hung on the cusp of this moment. He locked eyes with Maya, who blinked back tears but gave him that reassuring smile. On the charge of endangerment, how does the jury find? The judge's voice was steady, cutting through the electric tension that had woven itself around them. Not guilty, the foreperson declared, and the word fell like a blessing, reverberating through Franklin's chest, sending chills across his skin. At that moment, he dared to breathe. The room erupted into chaos of cheers and relief. Family members leapt from their seats. Yet, amidst the growing happiness, one thought flashed through his mind: had they truly believed in him as a hero, or simply rallied against a narrative shaped by society? Maya rushed to him, enveloping him in a tight embrace as the world around them blurred into jubilant noise. But just as he savored the weight of her small frame, the prosecutor's cold gaze cut through the joy like a winter wind. This isn't over, he warned, a smirk curling on his lips. You have only seen the beginning. In that moment, all the warmth of victory chilled as Franklin realized the fight had not ended. The shadows of doubt still lingered, and in their midst rose new questions. Would they truly be able to find peace? What would come next for Franklin and Maya as they stepped into their uncertain future? With the courtroom buzzing around them, Franklin leaned down to Maya, his voice low and fierce. We have to be ready for whatever comes next. Franklin stepped out of the courtroom hand in hand with Maya. The air outside was a sharp contrast to the charged atmosphere inside. Bright sunlight surrounded them, the kind of warmth that felt foreign after hiding in the cool, clinical confines of that room. But it was also blinding. The world hadn't entirely stopped for him, even if a small piece of his burden just had. Maya looked up, her eyes gleaming with pride. You did it, Dad. You really did. His heart swelled at her joy, but doubt still gnawed at him. We have to stay vigilant, Maya. I may have won this battle, but the war isn't over. As they walked toward their car, reporters crowded at the entrance, cameras flashing like fireflies. The cacophony of questions filled the air. Franklin. How do you feel? Do you think the prosecutor will appeal? He pressed his lips into a thin line, careful not to let fear slip out. Ignoring the questions, he took Maya's hand tighter and guided her through the throngs of eager reporters. Once in the safety of their vehicle, the weight of their reality crashed over them, heavier than before. Franklin's lips twitched into a reluctant smile as Maya rattled off all the possibilities of how they could celebrate: ice cream, the park, maybe even a little surprise barbecue for the neighbors. Yeah, kiddo, that sounds good, he said, trying to keep the conversation light. But let us discuss the next steps first. She groaned, rolling her eyes. You're such a downer, Dad. Being a downer is how we stay safe, he replied gently. The prosecutor will try to paint me as a villain again. We need to prepare for what's to come. Maya studied him, her features softening. I just want you to be okay. I'm scared. Franklin turned to her, heart aching. I know. Me too. But remember, whatever comes, we face it together. You're my strength. As they pulled up near their home, Franklin's phone buzzed furiously in his pocket. A sense of foreboding washed over him. He took it out to find a flood of notifications. The social media storm was brewing, people were sharing his story. Some supported him, while others were relentless in their backlash. They labeled him a fraud, a manipulator, and worse. Each word stung like a slap. Dad? Maya's voice pulled him back. He shoved the phone back into his pocket as if it burned. Let us not pay attention to that right now. We'll deal with the world someday, he said, forcing a smile. But inside, anger sparked. The same people who had cheered inside that courtroom were now turning. Franklin felt the walls closing in, fears clawing inside him. Would he have to fight every step of the way to defend himself and the choices he made? A knock on the window startled him. It was one of the neighbors, Mrs. Thompson, her expression one of pity and concern. "Franklin, I just wanted to say how proud I am of you. I always knew you were a good man." "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson," he managed, but her kindness felt like a double-edged sword. Once inside, he took a deep breath. It wasn't just his fight anymore, it was also Maya's. She had witnessed the scrutiny, the judgments that spiraled around them like a relentless tornado. How could he shield her from the fallout? "Maya," he said softly, "promise me you won't let this get to you." "I will try, Dad." He smiled at her, but behind that smile, layers of worry coiled. She was only a kid. Was it fair to put this on her? Could he protect her when he barely knew how to protect himself? Later that night, as he lay awake, he thought about their future. Was there a way to turn this chaos into something positive? The hope of being seen for who he truly was flickered within him, but the shadows of doubt crept close, whispering uncertainty in the dark. As sleep finally began to settle, a thought jolted him awake. What if this nightmare led to something bigger than himself? Could it transform their lives in unexpected ways? Franklin's resolve hardened. If he had to keep fighting, he would do it not just for his innocence but for a future where Maya could thrive without fear. But deep down, one question loomed larger than the rest: would he have the strength to face whatever came next? Would he be enough to protect them both? And as he inhaled deeply, the night closing in around him, he felt the weight of his journey transform into a quiet determination. A darkness awaited, and it seemed like it was coming for him fast. The world had eyes on him now, but what if he could turn that spotlight into a beacon of hope? The next morning, Franklin awoke early, the remnants of a restless night lingering behind his eyelids. Sunlight filtered through the gaps in the curtains, casting stripes across the room. It felt like a challenge, a stark reminder that he had to push through the fog of doubt and face the day head-on. "Maya," he called out, his voice a mixture of determination and fatigue. "Time to rise and shine." The sound of shuffling feet and a groan followed him as he moved to the kitchen. The smell of coffee brewing filled the air, grounding him. He prepared their usual breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast. Simple, yet comforting. There was reassurance in routine, a momentary escape from the whirlwind outside. As they sat at the table, Maya's eyes sparkled above a mound of food. "Can we talk about the barbecue now?" she asked. "I want to invite Julie and Eric." "Sure, we'll get to it," he replied, a soft smile breaking through his seriousness. But something heavier weighed on his mind. Should this be their focus right now? That nagging uncertainty bubbled just below the surface. After breakfast, Franklin settled into his home office. Papers littered his desk, evidence of the chaos he tried to control. The trial may have ended, but the battle was just beginning. Refocusing, he pulled up social media on his laptop. His heart raced as he sifted through a mix of support and vitriol, a cacophony almost as dizzying as the courtroom had been. One post stood out: "Why are we letting a man like Harvey continue his game? He ruined lives. Justice for Harvey." The name hit like lightning. Harvey's machinations were far from over, and it became clear Franklin would have to address them head-on. He began typing, pouring his heart into a response that addressed both his detractors and supporters. "I am not a villain. My actions were motivated by love and hope for a better future. I stand for what is right, and I will fight against the narrative that attempts to define me as anything else." Just as he pressed send, his phone buzzed. It was a message from one of his old friends, David, who had always been a steadfast ally. "Franklin, I've got something important to discuss. Can you meet me at the diner?" With a sense of urgency building, he grabbed his jacket. The diner wasn't far, but he couldn't shake the feeling that every moment mattered. The drive was short, a blur of colors and sounds until he pulled into the parking lot and spotted David inside, his brow furrowed in deep concern. "Hey, buddy. Thanks for coming," David said, getting straight to the point. "I saw the headlines. It's bad out there. I want to help, but we need to be smart about this." Franklin nodded, tension threading through him. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes. But what is the plan?" David leaned closer, lowering his voice. "We need more people on our side. Your story has power, but you need a guide through this storm. There's a community group that has been listening. They want to help you share your truth, but you have to trust them." Trust. The word guardingly pricked at Franklin's heart. He fought against tides alone for so long, taking care of Maya while battling the whispers of doubt. Could he really lean on others when everything felt precarious? What if they don't understand? He questioned, doubt creeping back in. Then educate them. Your story is worth telling. You have every right to share it, David insisted, his eyes earnest. Franklin inhaled deeply, weighing the risks against the potential rewards. Could this be the lifeline he needed, a way to harness the tide of support and redirect the hatred? He didn't have all the answers, but he felt a small flicker of hope ignite at the prospect of a united front. Together, they could turn the tide. As he left the diner, fueled by David's support, a new determination settled deep within him. He wouldn't just fight to protect his family, he would stand for those who felt powerless, too. But that rumbling uncertainty remained. What if the community turned its back? In the distance, the sun dipped low, shadows stretching across the pavement. The weight of the journey hung suspended in the air, and Franklin knew he stood on the precipice of something monumental. What awaited him when he stepped into the unknown? Would he emerge stronger or be swallowed whole by the very fight he had chosen to embrace? Franklin stepped out of the diner, the cool evening breeze catching him off guard. It felt like the world had shifted on its axis, leaving him in a spin. He glanced at his phone, the screen light illuminating the dread building in his chest. The thought of the community group emerged as both a lifeline and a noose. Maya would be back home, oblivious to the storm brewing in her father's mind. He could almost hear her laughter, the way it tinkled like a wind chime. The thought pulled him forward, but still, uncertainty gnawed at his insides. Would trusting this community take him away from her when he desperately needed to shield her? Would they share his fierceness or simply rattle him with their expectant eyes? He drove slowly, a storm brewing of a different kind within him. His thoughts bounced between potential allies and fear of failure. The community had the power to reshape the narrative or bury him under the weight of their skepticism. What if they turned out to be more like the trolls online than the supporters he dreamed of? Pulling into the driveway, he took a moment to breathe. The old oak in the front yard stood tall, its branches swaying gently, promising strength. He could find that strength too. Yet it was easier said than done, especially when every decision seemed to carry the weight of the world. As he entered, Maya dashed toward him, a streak of exuberance in flapping pajamas. "Daddy, you're home." She hugged him tightly, and he reveled in her pure joy. "Can we make cookies?" He smiled, a genuine burst of warmth breaking through his tension. "Sure, how about we whip up a batch of chocolate chip?" "Yay!" she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling like fireflies. Together, they moved to the kitchen, and for a moment, everything felt simple again. Flour danced in the air as they stirred, the sweet scent of vanilla filling the space. "Can we invite Julie and Eric to help too?" Maya asked, focused on the dough. "Of course." Franklin chuckled, his heart feeling lighter. But just as he mixed the chocolate chips, his phone buzzed on the counter, disrupting the moment. Another message. It was David again. "You need to meet with them soon. This could change everything for you." The urgency sent a shiver down his spine. "Daddy, are you okay?" Maya asked, looking up at him with wide eyes. He forced a smile. "Yeah, just some adult stuff. The words didn't land gracefully. A creeping sense of guilt washed over him. Maya deserved joy, not the weight of his worries. Later that night, with Maya tucked into bed and the dim light of the living room casting soft shadows, he stared at the ceiling. It felt like a turning point, a moment where he could either embrace the daunting challenge ahead or retreat into the comfort of solitude. This was about more than just him. It was about her, about every dream he held so close that they felt like tendrils of hope reaching out for something more. But then that echoing question returned: what if the community didn't understand? His heart raced at that thought. Should he seek out this group David spoke about? Or was that simply inviting the kind of chaos that might threaten everything he fought for? Franklin sat up and leaned against the wall. Tomorrow he would decide. He would draw from Maya's laughter, the smell of cookies, and the connection that tied them together. He had fought to protect that bond more than anything else. It was time for him to stand tall, speak his truth, and hope the world would listen. But as he closed his eyes, doubt crept back in, whispering shadows that taunted the very strength he sought. Would he be seen for who he truly was, or would he have to face the darkest parts of the narrative surrounding him? Tomorrow, he'd make his choice. But would it be the right one? The morning light filtered through the curtains, its gentle glow illuminating the remnants of last night's turmoil. Franklin rubbed his eyes, tracing the soft outlines of his daughter sleeping peacefully beside him. A sense of calm washed over him, and for a fleeting moment, he forgot about the looming decision he had to make. He slipped out of bed, careful not to disturb Maya's slumber. The aroma of fresh coffee beckoned him to the kitchen, a familiar comfort zone. As he brewed a pot, Franklin took a deep breath, inhaling the rich notes of the dark roast. This was his sanctuary, a space where every corner echoed with memories of laughter and love. Maya shuffled in, hair tousled and eyes blinking against the brightness. "Good morning, Daddy," she said with a yawn, radiating an energy that could power a small city. "Morning, sweetheart. Ready for a big day?" he asked, pouring her a cup of milk while fixing himself a steaming mug. "What big day?" she asked, curiously tilting her head. Franklin hesitated. "Well, I think we might go on a little adventure today." He forced a smile, knowing deep down that the adventure he faced was more daunting than anything he'd encountered before. After breakfast, they stepped outside, the sun shining brightly. Franklin felt its warmth on his skin, charging his spirits. He remembered the strength of the oak tree in their yard, its roots sprawling deep. If that tree could stand firm against the winds, so could he thought. "I want to play outside," Maya exclaimed, her excitement infectious. As she raced off to the swing set, Franklin watched her, his heart swelling with pride. But shadows flickered in the corners of his mind. David's anxious messages and the community group meeting hovered like storm clouds. Suddenly, the sound of children laughing echoed from a nearby yard, jarring him back to reality. It was Julie and Eric, their playful shouts filling the air. Franklin's heart raced. This was the community he could lean on, perhaps. Yet, would they welcome him or dismiss him as just another face in the crowd? "Can I go play with them, Daddy?" Maya asked, her voice pulling him from his thoughts. "Sure. Just be careful," he called, watching her bound across the yard. Another wave of joy rippled through him, but it was quickly doused by the looming meeting. Doubt crept back in as he walked back inside, the quiet of the house swallowing the sound of joy outside. He paced the living room, conflicted. He couldn't ignore the message from David. It felt like an additional weight on his shoulders, an invitation to a fate unknown. Was this the path to finally finding a voice for his story? Or was it a trap that would turn his world upside down, potentially causing harm to Maya? The thought made him shiver. Drawing a shaky breath, he glanced at his phone, hovering over David's message, heart racing. With every passing second, he felt pulled in two directions. Could he really step into the unknown, trusting that the community would see him as more than what others had defined him as? The door swung open, and Maya tumbled back in, breathless and beaming. "Daddy! They want to come over." A soft smile broke through the storm inside him. The joy and innocence in her eyes were something he wanted to protect fiercely. He had to decide soon. But did he have the courage to face what lay ahead? He knelt beside her, squeezing her hand. "Okay, let us invite them in. But after that, I might need to talk to someone about some adult stuff." Maya nodded, her enthusiasm undeterred. "Like about superhero stuff?" "Exactly like that," he said, a smile blossoming. As the sounds of laughter filled their home, Franklin made a silent promise to himself. Today would be different. Today, he would begin to build his path. But as the doorbell rang, a realization hit him: was he truly ready to let anyone in, starting with the community that had both scared and intrigued him? Just one step at a time, but which step would he take first? As the doorbell rang, Franklin's heart quickened. He tried to push back the anxiety swelling within him. Maya hopped excitedly, her little feet barely staying on the ground as she bounced back to the door. "Can I open it?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. "Of course, sweetheart," he replied, trying to sound more relaxed than he felt. The door swung open to reveal Julie and Eric, two faces synonymous with warmth in the neighborhood. The bright sun behind them cast halo-like shadows, their laughter spilling in like rays of pure joy. "Hi Maya. We brought cookies," Julie said, holding out a plate covered in chocolate chips, still warm from the oven. "Cookies!" Maya squealed, her delight infectious. Franklin smiled as he watched his daughter's excitement, but a knot tightened in his stomach. He was letting them in. The thought felt monumental. It was a step towards connection, but it also meant exposing his vulnerabilities. "See mon in, guys. Thanks for coming," he said, trying to keep his voice light and upbeat while internally grappling with the decision he had yet to face. As they settled into the living room, Maya immediately took charge, proudly showing off her toys and her little corner of the world. Laughter bubbled around the room, small stories exchanged filling the air with warmth. Ever so often, Franklin shot glances at the window, as if searching for the world outside to intrude. "So, how's the new job treating you?" Eric asked, breaking through Franklin's reverie. "It's all right," Franklin said, unsure how much to divulge. "Just adjusting." "Adjusting can be tough," Julie empathized. "Just remember, we're here if you need anything." Franklin appreciated the sentiment, but those words hung in the air, each vowel a reminder of the choices that lay before him. He clenched his hands, his mind tugging between the safety of the present and the leap of faith into the community, the passion of those who truly wanted to understand him. "Hey, do you need help with anything?" "We're all about lending a hand," Eric added, his voice filled with sincerity. Actually, Franklin paused, heart racing as he felt Maya's small hand slip into his larger one. The gesture grounded him, tethering his swirling thoughts. "There's a meeting later today. It's about what's going on in the neighborhood." Their expressions shifted, curiosity dancing in their eyes. "Really?" "We were just discussing some community concerns," Julie stated. "Yeah, we need more voices to come forward." "It's important," Eric chimed in. Franklin felt a surge of adrenaline. Was this the opening he'd been waiting for? He could feel Maya squeeze his hand tighter, sensing her father's uncertainty. "Maybe I should go," he said before he had time to second-guess himself. Maya looked up at him, her bright smile unwavering. "Yeah, Daddy. You should. Just like a superhero." Her innocent comparison filled him with warmth, yet the weight of it sent a chill down his spine. "Just like a superhero," he echoed softly, looking into Maya's eyes. The path ahead felt shrouded, but there was hope woven into the fabric of their lives. "Maybe I can come too." Maya's eyes twinkled as she imagined the adventure that lay ahead, blissfully unaware of the adult complexities swirling around them. Franklin nodded, the idea lifting him higher. Maybe we could all go together. As laughter swept through the house again, the door to possibility creaked open before him. Could he really take that leap? Could he seize his chance amongst community voices clamoring for change? The thought of stepping into the unknown both thrilled and terrified him. But suddenly, the decision felt less about his fears and more about what he would show Maya about facing life, about courage. As they continued sharing stories, an unexpected resolve settled within Franklin. Maybe he actually could find his place among them. But just when hope flickered brightly, a message notification buzzed from his phone. David's name lit up the screen, a reminder of the unfinished dialogue waiting in the wings. What if this meeting was the key to everything? Or was it just going to complicate things further? Franklin's pulse quickened. He wasn't just stepping out for himself anymore, it was also for Maya, for both of them. With his heart teetering between hope and fear, he wondered, could this be the moment everything changed? Franklin's phone buzzed again, pulling him from the warmth of the moment. He glanced at the screen, anxious to see if it would be another message from David. Just a quick peek, he told himself. After all, he needed to stay focused, especially with Maya and their friends nearby. Daddy? Maya tugged on his shirt, her voice pulling him back. Can we go for ice cream after the meeting? Of course, buddy, he said, his smile returning. But his mind churned with the weight of David's message, holding on to what it could mean for him. We'll make it a fun day. Yay! She jumped again, lost in her own world of wonder. Eric and Julie exchanged glances, their faces shifting to concern as Franklin's distracted demeanor didn't go unnoticed. Everything okay? Julie asked, ever the kind-hearted neighbor who seemed to sense when something was off. Yeah, just a lot on my mind, you know. He forced the words out but felt their truth hanging between them. Eric nodded, his expression one of understanding. We've all been there. Just take it one step at a time. Yeah. Franklin murmured, but doubt gnawed at his insides. The meeting loomed ahead, and he felt the walls tightening around him. The thought of facing the community brought a mix of terror and excitement, but could this truly be his chance? He intentionally diverted his focus from his phone to Maya, who was now standing proudly atop her toy box like a little queen. Her expression radiated confidence. Look, Daddy. I can see the whole kingdom. That's my girl, Franklin laughed. He needed this joy, this laughter, yet questions flickered in the back of his mind like shifting shadows. The hours slipped by, filled with stories and laughter, but every fleeting moment brought him closer to the reality he had to face. Maya's innocence was a veil over the deeper issues that loomed in their lives. It struck him anew he'd been so focused on his own fears that he hadn't fully absorbed the impact this community could have on their future. Eventually, the sun dipped low in the sky, casting amber hues in through the windows. Time was passing, and so was his opportunity to embrace what lay ahead. Okay, guys. I think it's time for us to head out, Franklin announced, trying to inject enthusiasm into his voice. We've got a meeting to get to. Maya leapt down immediately, her small shoes thudding on the floor. I can't wait to tell everyone about the cookies. Cookies are the best icebreaker. Eric chuckled warmly. An easy camaraderie settled around them as they moved toward the front door, but Franklin felt a tightness in his chest again. Outside, the cool air hit him, snapping him into reality. It was a gorgeous evening, the sky was transforming into a canvas of pinks and oranges. Still, a swirl of apprehension loomed over him. As they walked toward the community center, casual chatter filled the air, it spoke of neighborhood gossip, school events, and weekend plans. The contrast between their lightness and the heaviness in his heart was stark. Franklin. Julie's voice broke his train of thought. You all right? You look a bit pale. Just thinking, he admitted, his heart racing faster. You got this. Honestly, I think you'll find a lot of support there, Eric assured him. Franklin wanted to believe him, but his thoughts clashed within him. If he didn't share his truth, if he didn't step forward, how could he ever hope to build something better for Maya? Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it, he murmured, determination starting to germinate in his heart. They soon reached the community center, its doors wide open, welcoming them into a space thrumming with anticipation. Franklin could hear voices rising, mingling in a warm buzz that felt deceptively inviting. As they approached, a flicker of recognition flashed through him. Each step felt both heavier and lighter, carrying the weight of fear while propelling him toward possibility. But just as he took a deep breath, about to cross into this new chapter for both him and Maya, another phone vibrated in his pocket. He looked down and saw it was David again. Could this be the chance to finally understand what he wanted to say? Or was it a distraction at the very moment he needed clarity the most? With a slight tremble in his hands, Franklin hesitated at the threshold, questioning whether he should answer or take that leap into the unknown journey ahead. Was this the moment he'd been waiting for, or a sign that he was still miles away from resolution? Franklin stood at the entrance of the community center, the hum of voices swirling around him. It felt like a different world inside, one filled with promise and fear. He cast a glance at Maya, who was watching him with eyes bright and full of unyielding trust. "Ready, Dad?" she asked, innocently unaware of the storm brewing within him. His phone buzzed again in his pocket. David's name gleamed on the screen, a reminder of his old life and the uncertainties ahead. The cautious part of him wanted to stay cocooned in the comfort of their small bubble, shielded from the harsh realities of the world outside. But a stronger part fortified by Maya's unwavering belief in him pushed him to take a step forward. "Yeah, kiddo," he said, determination rising in his chest. "Let us go change the world together." As they moved inside, the air buzzed with excitement. Familiar faces turned to greet them, an array of neighbors and friends united under one roof. Franklin felt the warmth of shared stories, of connections forged from years of community living, forming a backdrop for what was about to unfold. "Franklin!" a neighbor exclaimed, waving him over. "We've been hearing about you. You really stood strong in that courtroom. Everyone's rooting for you." This was the moment. He took a deep breath, letting it anchor him. He could feel the energy radiating from those around him, a sense of camaraderie that begged for honesty and understanding. They wanted to listen, they wanted to hear his truth. With an ease he didn't know he possessed, he shared his story. And as he spoke, weaving in the struggles he and Maya faced, the pain, the fear, he felt a catharsis unfold. No longer was he just a janitor, he was a father fighting against a tide of injustice, striving for a future where his daughter could thrive without fear. Maya sat beside him, her small hands nestled in his. Franklin saw her smile, a radiant beacon, illuminating the room as she chimed in about the cookies and how they found strength in each other. It was her innocent honesty that helped pull everyone closer, breaking barriers he hadn't realized existed. Words began to flow from those in the crowd. They shared their own struggles, their own journeys, how they had feared being misunderstood, unseen. Franklin felt the powerful solidarity swelling among them. They weren't just audience members, they were allies. "Let us all stand together," another neighbor declared. "Let us show the world their strength in unity." A fresh wave of energy surged through the room. Franklin knew in that moment he wasn't alone anymore, they were ready to fight together. As he looked into the faces around him, he felt a wave of hope wash over him, filling the cracks of doubt that had once defined his existence. Hours later, the meeting dissolved into laughter and chatter, an evening of genuine connection wrapping around him. As they filed out, Maya shouted with glee at the thought of ice cream, pulling him along with renewed energy. "Daddy, see? Everyone is on our side." She beamed up at him, her eyes sparkling with pure joy. "Yes, they are, kiddo. They are," he replied, his heart swelling with gratitude. The drive to the ice cream shop felt like a celebration. Each road turned echoed the resilience they had begun to forge together. Franklin glanced at Maya, her laughter filling the car, cutting through the remnants of his earlier doubt. Before he knew it, they were at the shop, ordering their favorite flavors amidst giggles and cheers from the other customers. As he prepared to pay, his phone buzzed again, and Franklin curiously checked. It was David, but this time the message held something different. "You are enough, Franklin. You always have been. Stand tall." A radiant smile broke across Franklin's face. It felt like affirmation from the universe itself. Returning to Maya, he handed her a scoop of ice cream, her laughter sparking more stories of adventure to come. Maybe they would fall into other challenges, maybe they would face skepticism that threatened their bond again. But for now, it was enough to revel in. This moment, each joyful bite, each shared smile signaling that they were emerging into something brighter. "Daddy?" Maya asked in between licks of her cone, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Yes, sweet girl. Do you think they'll understand you for real now?" Franklin paused, leaning back in his seat, contemplating the journey they shared and the road ahead. He nodded slowly, a swell of warmth rising in him. "I believe they will. And if they don't? Well, we'll show them together." For the first time, he felt the chains of doubt begin to dissolve. In that instant, he knew their future held promise, possibility, and the connection they had forged with their community. He wasn't just Franklin the janitor anymore, he was Franklin, the father, the fighter, and now, a beacon of hope. And as they drove under the fading light of day, they still had a long way to go, but it didn't seem so daunting anymore. This was just the beginning of their incredible journey, hand in hand, heart to heart. So, what is stopping you from taking that leap? You need to subscribe now to not miss more inspiring stories like this. Hit that like button to feed the algorithm and keep the good vibes rolling. Let me know in the comments how this story touched you. Your feelings matter. And don't wait one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support.